installation. You know as well as I do that I don't care what kind of airplane it is. Let's use a Bonanza as an example, not to pick on the Bonanza crowd. But you drop off the airplane, maybe it's a 1980s vintage Bonanza. It's got a stack of Bendix King Silver Crown in it with a King mechanical HSI and KFC 150 autopilot. You've been flying the airplane for a lot of years. You're pretty good with it. You're a good IFR pilot. But now you pick this airplane up. It's got a top-to-bottom Garmin retrofit in it. It's a very different airplane. And I think there's a problem where owners just don't, well, there's two problems, I think. One, they don't realize the training it takes to transition to this new-to-you airplane. Because it really is an airplane that's new to you at this point. And the other problem is shops are not in the training business. You talk about having a good relationship with a dealer. The dealer is tasked to get the job done right. And that's a lot to have on your plate. They're not in the training business. That sort of leaves the customer on their own to source good training. And, you know, I've heard and seen some pretty ugly stories where people have picked up airplanes after major avionics installations and have had some pretty scary near misses.
There's a lot of information to
There's
digest.
a lot of information. This could be information overload, the buttonology, and everything that goes into learning new avionics. How do you go about it? You know, you're a flight instructor, and you sort of use this stuff on a day-to-day basis. But for somebody that's immersed in this new technology, boy, it's a lot to swallow.
You brought up an interesting point. We harp on as an industry the word proficiency, right? We talk about currency and breaking down the 3 takeoffs and landings day or night every 90 days, and then we talk about, are you a proficient pilot after that? Are you flying every week, maybe every 10 days, a month, etc.? And are you really proficient in your airplane? I like to break it apart into, are you proficient with that Bonanza as you spoke of earlier, that you may have a few thousand hours in over years and years of experience hauling your family all over the great country or the world? Are you proficient in that airplane? And now you just install the avionics in it. Now you almost have avionics proficiency, right? Are you really safe to launch into that 200 overcast day and that half-mile visibility and come right back into it when you have an engine issue? You know, are you proficient with it? So let's break it down. How can we get trained? Obviously, the dealers are there as a great resource for you. A lot of them do have a CFI on staff, or maybe it's the owner of the shop, et cetera, that can help you start that proficiency process.
Well, and I'll stop you right there. That might be one of the requirements that you might select. Okay, does the dealer have a flight instructor either on staff, or have they got a relationship with a flight instructor that can maybe fly for a couple hours with you? Because, you know, I've been in the right seat after a major avionics installation doing a shakedown flight, and you know, I'm looking at stuff on the panel to make sure everything works. I'm not there to train you.
Exactly.
So it's a fine line between a maintenance shakedown flight and training. So I think picking a shop that can help with the training in some way may influence the decision as to where you might go.
And that's a great point, Larry. And I think another thing, too, a lot of people overlook is your personal minimums. That's another great industry term out there. What are your personal minimums? Are you comfortable and proficient going down to that 200.5 shooting an ILS? Again, after that weekend outside at Oshkosh, right? We're all here all week. We're tired. We've enjoyed a week with all of our friends here, but are we safe to launch back into IFR and go shoot and approach the minimums? We all have to be the judge of that as pilots and aircraft owners. And I think ultimately your personal minimums may have to change for a little bit after the install until your proficiency with that new set of capabilities comes up to snuff and what it should be. So there are a lot of things to think about on the training side. A couple other great resources are, you know, we have for our navigators, iPad training apps, right? So know where the buttons are and know which buttons you may have to press when you get in that airplane for the first time as the install's going on. Use the GTN training apps. Use the TXI training app. Use that 2-inch navigator training app for our 2-inch navigator line before you even go into the flight deck and into your cockpit to use that avionics for the first time. And then we have in-person courses as well that we have at Garmin if you really want to get in depth that you can go to right before you fly your airplane for your time out of avionics, etc. So there's a lot of ways to gain proficiency away from the airplane and away from your local flight instructor that may have experience with that avionics, Larry. But ultimately, there's nothing better than flight time. We all know it, right? That's how you gain proficiency and not only stay current, but get proficient with it, and also learn all capabilities that you may be able to use with your very expensive install you just invested in heavily.
Yeah, I'd keep it VFR for the first few hours or whatever it takes to get comfortable.
Yes.
And whatever you do, don't schedule a big trip after a major avionics installation. You know, we know the airplane's down for a long time, and people, you know, they're anxious to get the airplane back, and they got that big family trip. Schedule that installation where you don't have the pressures of flying people. It's just something you just don't need to do.
Absolutely.
But our camera guys are saying it's getting about time to wrap things up. I appreciate sitting with Kyle Ludwig, as I always do. I always like talking with you. And you guys are going to be here all week showing these nice airplanes off.
We're here all week.
Giving good demos inside.
Absolutely. And if you're on the grounds or you have an opportunity, we have seminars in our 3 seminar tents. Our training folks are here as well. You can gain some great training insights from those folks as well that have a ton of operational experience with the avionics. And then, as you said earlier, come look at the airplanes on display. Come see how those avionics were installed. Come talk to the owners and what capabilities, how they went through that decision process, kind of a decision matrix, how they decided what avionics to get, and see for yourself why we're very proud of what we do at Garmin.
Cool. Well, you've been watching Aviation Consumer Live coverage here at Airventure 2024 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Big shout out to one of our show sponsors here, Lightspeed Aviation. Appreciate what they do to make this live segment possible. Hopefully it's helped the buying decision, and we'll keep that Panel Planner 101 live thing going at these events, and of course we'll keep Panel Planner 101 going in Aviation Consumer Magazine. For Aviation Consumer, I'm Larry Anglosano with Kyle Ludwig at Garmin. Thanks for watching.
It's happening. Okay, it's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Yeah. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Calculating carbon monoxide.
Next.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
All right, everybody. Hi, and welcome back to our production of Oshkosh Live 2024. You've now officially moved into your Airline Geek segment, and as you can probably guess, I'm not Ryan Ewing. So my name is Kaylee Nix, and I'm so excited to be here with Flying Media Group as part of our Oshkosh Live production. It's going swimmingly so far, as long as you're not traveling to anywhere in the country right now, really, right? It's no secret that at the end of last week, we really just kind of had a disaster befall part of the airline industry. That CrowdStrike technology issue taking down so many flights and still causing ripple effect issues as we linger into the start of this week. So it's, again, leading to the question, where in the world is Ryan Ewing? Well, right now, he's fortunately on an airplane, headed his way here to Chicago to then, of course, drive up to Oshkosh. We're so grateful that he's here. But how ironic, right? of course, the airline guy is the one who gets stuck in all of the airline mess. If you guys were stuck, we are so sorry, but thank you for watching Oshkosh Live with us, because you're good to be here even though you're not actually here. The good news is, though, Ryan has actually something prepared for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some really exciting technology from Honeywell. They have now dropped some new technology that focuses on improving runway safety. He got to sit down and chat with one of their representatives a little bit last week. We're very excited to present you this chat with Ryan Ewing and Honeywell as part of our Airline Geek segment here at Oshkosh Live.
All right, Theo, thanks for coming to talk to us today about some of Honeywell's latest products. Really appreciate you joining. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do at Honeywell Aerospace.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me here. Super excited. I am a senior technical fellow at Honeywell. My area of expertise is human factors, and been with Honeywell since 1995. And so my role is to research and develop new flight deck technologies that improve the pilot experience. So whether that is improving safety or reducing workload during critical phases of flight. So displays, alerting systems, navigation systems, pilot interfaces is my role.
So tell me, before we start diving into some of these products that you all have been demoing recently, tell me a little bit about some of the trends you all have been seeing when it comes to incursions and certain incidents that have been happening, and how that kind of led you to develop some of these products.
Okay, so some of the latest trends that we're seeing in the industry are really related to runway safety. And runway safety is kind of a broad term, but I think you can break it down into three areas. One is runway excursions, where a pilot comes in high and fast and overruns the end of the runway. Another area of runway safety is wrong surface operations, where a pilot inadvertently tries to take off from a taxiway or tries to land on a taxiway or takes off on a runway that's too short. And then the third one that has really received the most media attention over the last couple of years is runway incursions. And a runway incursion is when aircraft and vehicle are inappropriately on the runway at the same time and on a collision course. So these runway safety topics of runway excursions, wrong surface events, and runway incursions are kind of a hot topic in aviation safety right now.
Yeah, and it seems to be that way. Like you said, there's been an enormous amount of media coverage on some of these incidents. I mean, there's been several even in the past couple months that have garnered quite a bit of attention. But I know you all at Honeywell and certainly the safety bodies as well look at data a lot. And I was just curious of kind of what are you seeing specific data that indicates that these serious incursions have kind of been on that uptick recently?
We have. The FAA has collects has a runway incursion database that's available to the public. And you can go in and do searches on there. And what we've seen over the last couple of years is that the number of more serious runway incursions has a dramatic uptick. So while the total number of runway incursions are not necessarily seen to be increasing, at least what the FAA is tracking, FAA breaks it down into category A, B, C, and D, with A and B being the most serious. And we see the numbers of A and Bs getting higher and higher. And so the near misses are getting nearer and nearer is how that's translated. And as a result, we're seeing a lot more press about this, whether it's in Washington, D.C. or earlier this week in Burbank, California. We're seeing near misses that involve not only air transport aircraft, but also general aviation. And so it's a variety of mix. Nobody is immune to this safety problem. It's affecting all of the segments in air transport.
Gotcha. So, what theories are kind of out there that you might have that maybe you've looked at or examined of why now? Why is this trend sort of seeing an uptick at this point in time? Is there any theories that you've heard or thought about or considered as part of this?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is the number of operations are up, right? We've got the COVID rebound, air traffic is picking up. And so, so while we did see a dip during, the COVID years in the number of runway incursions as well as the number of operations, that all has resumed. And so operation numbers are up, which is, good for us all in the business. But another trend in the industry we're seeing is changing demographics. So baby boomers are retiring. Some of them did a little early retirement during those COVID years, were incentivized. And so that's both air traffic controllers as well as pilots. And so the overall number of years in experience is not the same level, for example, that it was 10 years ago. Another trend we're seeing is understaffing. So understaffing in air traffic control towers, that they're showing up more fatigue perhaps too, or, experiencing more fatigue. So I think it's, multiple reasons, the levels of traffic, changing demographics, and perhaps more fatigue workers.
I know the answer to this already, but I just want to kind of give you the opportunity to talk first about SmartX, which is Honeywell's product to prevent runway excursions, correct?
Yeah, and run surface operations. Yeah. So
Right.
SmartX.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's been a product that's been out there for over a decade. And again, it is really, the numbers lead us, right? So we spend, my former mentor, the late Don Bateman, was the inventor of enhanced ground proximity warning system. And I learned my, passion from Don and this, let the numbers lead you type of a deal. So, reading accident reports, looking at the data. And so we had a couple noteworthy incidents that were really catastrophic and near misses that led them to develop the SmartX system that really uses the own ship position to increase pilot situation awareness, aircraft state awareness. And so part of it is that it provides the pilot alerts on approach if they're too high, if they're too fast. It provides them alert if they've misset their altimeter setting. So it looks like your bare alt compared to GPS blended alt. So there's altimeter setting check. And then it provides you also these position awareness alerts. So for example, if there's 3,000 feet remaining on the runway, it gives you an oral call out, 3,000 feet remaining, 2,000 feet remaining. One of the behaviors we see with pilots is sometimes they're a little bit too shy in putting the brakes on or reverse thrust. They want to make it a little smoother or whatnot. And so when you get this, 3,000, 2,000, then it's like, oh yeah, I need to, start slowing down here if they haven't already. So SmartX has, a dozen plus different customizable features, whether it is, it lets you know approaching runway 24 left. It can give you a text or oral call out for that. Because, pilots get confused. It's during around the ground is really high high workload phase of flight, lots of ATC chatter. It's easy to get distracted. And so it provides you these position awareness information as well as some alerting to help you get back on track if you might be either lost or, too high or too fast on an approach. And so that's what we call this SmartX. It's really looking at runway excursions where you're high and fast and run off the end of the runway, helps reduce that. And then also helps reduce these wrong surface events. So for example, taking off on a too short or the wrong runway, or, you think you're going across one runway and you're crossing another runway. Those type of activities is really what it's pretty simple. It's not fancy graphics. It's basic orals, which are very important this phase of flight because pilots are typically eyes out. So it's oral alerts, and it is text messages just to help keep pilots safe.
Tell me maybe about an incident that this would have helped. I mean, I think one that you mentioned before was that Air Canada incident. Oh boy, I think that was 5 or 6 years ago now in San Francisco, where they were lined up on the taxiway. Would SmartX would have helped step in there, or would have helped?
Yeah. So that was A320 back in 2017, where it mistook a taxiway for a runway and nearly collided with 4 passenger aircraft that were lined up on the taxiway. So it was, it was a very near disaster. So that's one of them. Another one, going back a few more years, was Lexington, 2006. RJ overran. It used the wrong runway for takeoff, a runway that was not long enough. And so pilot would have been provided oral alert to the runway, and then there is a configuration. So if the runway you're on itself is too short, it will tell you short runway even before you start that takeoff roll.
And what kind of adoption have you all seen, from sort of major carriers down to maybe bizjet operators? Do you see a pretty good adoption of SmartX out there? This has been around for quite a while.
Yeah, I guess personally, as a safety professional, I would like to see all aircraft equipped with this. Where for the airlines and bizjets, we see about a 25% market penetration with this software only. So it rides along with EGPWS. It is a software add-on feature. And so we see about a 25% global adoption rate in the business jet and air transport market.
Gotcha. And then I guess the other one I want to move into and talk about, of course, is the more recent product that you all have been rolling out and demoing, is Surfa. So why don't you tell me a little more about that and the differences between the two?
Yeah. Okay, so Surfa, first of all, it's aviation loves their, their secret code names, but so it stands for Runway Surface Alerts. And so you've got Surfa, and you've got Surf-IA. But the one we're rolling out right now is Surfa, and that is an alert to the pilots about a pending runway collision with other traffic. So it rides along with SmartX, so you don't have to have SmartX, but it's that same, it uses the SmartX runway database. It's very important to have high integrity runway database. It uses ADS-B in to keep track of where the other aircraft are. And then it also uses own ship position and accelerations and GPS positions and things like that. So Surf-A is technology designed to reduce the risk of a runway collision. And it will provide the pilot an oral and a text alert 30 seconds prior to an impending collision. So if two aircraft are on the runway at the same time, it not necessarily is going to provide an alert, because that happens all the time, right? Line up and wait, traffic crossing downfield, you're not going to hear any alert. But if you were given takeoff clearance and somebody stumbled onto your runway at the same time you were on your takeoff roll, you would get an alert right away. So if you're on approach and somebody is on the runway and maybe it's nighttime, poor visibility, you would receive an alert on final approach up to 30 seconds. So 30 seconds and 15 seconds are when we give out the oral and text alerts, which is similar to TCAS. So TCAS is for airborne collision, traffic, but it doesn't work for aircraft that are on the ground. And so it's different technology than TCAS, but it's kind of similar principle in that it alerts to you of a pending collision with another aircraft or vehicle if the vehicle is equipped with ADS-B.
How does that play in with some of the airport surface detection equipment, ASDX, to name one that's already out there? And granted, some ASDX we all know hasn't been widely adopted at some airports have it, but many don't. So how does that play in with that?
Yeah, so ASDX is really designed for the controllers. So the controllers get an alert of a pending collision, and then the controllers would then tell the pilot, like, cancel takeoff clearance because of that. And so this is complementary to this, but it's not an alert for the controllers. It's an alert for the pilots. Our pilots are the last line of defense. They're the ones that are going to avoid the collision. And so this onboard alerting for the pilots gets it to them right away. So there's no delay. There's no, error in translation. There's no risk of blocked communication of ATC talking and somebody else talking at the same time. So it's similar in that it detects potential collision, but it provides it direct to the pilots. It goes with the pilots. Like you said, ASDX, that's only at, 35 airports in the U.S. It's a great system. It's a very, very, very expensive system. It takes a long time to install. So it won't be conflicting with ASDX. It's complementary, but we think, and the NTSB thinks, it's important that the pilots get this information. They're the ones that, have the shared fate, right? They're the ones sitting on board and that can reject the takeoff, that can do a go around to avoid that catastrophe.
So yeah, that was my next question for you. So in the past two final reports from the NTSB for the incident in Austin involving the FedEx 76 and the Southwest 73, and then of course in New York, there was the American 777 and Delta 737. Both those reports just recently came out, and in both those reports, the NTSB issued recommendations for onboard collision avoidance software, like what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. The NTSB actually first made the recommendation in 2000 that pilots get direct alerting. So they've been, they study the data, they're on the ground, doing, their accident investigation, making recommendations. And so they reiterated that and kind of recrafted it, it's as technology has matured and developed and has, re-emphasize their recommendations that pilots receive direct alerting of a potential runway collision. And that's really what Surfa is designed to do, is to provide the pilots the direct alerting of a runway collision. But they, NTSB can only make recommendations, right? They can't, they're not in the, regulation or mandate business. And so they can only make safety recommendations, and it's up to, our community to do what, they've also made similar recommendations on the surround surface events as well as the energy events. And so those also are in line with NTSB recommendations for runway safety.
So it kind of leads to another question I had, is that you have the NTSB now again sort of pushing forward through recommendations, additional media scrutiny going on as these incidents take place, and the product that you all have out there or almost available. Are you seeing broader interest from operators to adopt this system now that there's a little more downward pressure?
We are, and I think the operators themselves are getting nervous. They're getting involved in more of these near and near misses, right? I mean, so yes, we recently completed a 3-week demonstration campaign on our Boeing 757, where we visited a number of airline operators, and they're enthused about this. They want this. They recognize the additional safety layer that this provides, right? I mean, certainly FAA has been emphasizing training and improved procedures, and that's all important. But the safety of our, air transport system is really built upon multiple layers. And this direct alerting, some of the comments are, this is like EGPWS, this is like TCAS, this is the next big thing that we need to address, these runway safety issues.
You say there's an audio component and then there's a visual component. Why don't you tell me about the two components and how they play in together?
So for Surfa and for more alerting systems in general, it's the audio that gets the attention, because you don't know where the pilot's looking. The pilot could be looking out the window. The pilot could be looking at the FMS. But the audio is what gets your attention. But the cockpit is a noisy environment, right? And so they might have been in mid-sentence when this came on. And so when you get an alert in the cockpit, the FAA actually requires it to be dual sense. And so senses being, the eyes, the sense of touch, and so forth. So you're required, when you do give an alert in the cockpit, to invoke two senses. And so, we're not doing a stick shaker, right? So audio and the text. So they are complementary and available, for the alert. The pilot first would get the traffic on runway, and then there would be a text alert as well with that. And so depending upon the aircraft and the vintage of the aircraft, where that text message appears. But in general, for the basic version, for retrofit version, it would appear on the navigation display. You would get traffic on runway, or traffic on final, whatever the alert condition would be. You would hear the audio, and then the text would also appear to back up the audio.
Gotcha. So let's take JFK for incident. It was an incident involving the 738 and the 777 there. Let's say the Delta aircraft did have Surfa on board, a hypothetical scenario on a simulation. What would have been the time, in terms of them being able to reject their takeoff before the controller actually told them to do it?
Yeah. So they would, as soon as they stood up their throttles, within a second or two, they would have received that alert. And JFK is an ASDX equipped airport. And so the controller did get that alert, had to listen to it, had to process it, and then had to give that communication to the pilot to reject the takeoff. And so ultimately, the pilot did reject takeoff, and, disaster averted, 4 seconds prior to collision. Had they been equipped with Honeywell Surf-A system, our analysis of publicly available data indicates they would have received the alert message probably 12 seconds prior to getting that message from ATC. So it depends, geometries and, acceleration rates, and there's a lot of variables, but certainly they would have received it numerous seconds prior to receiving that message from ATC. And, as we know, in that phase of flight, seconds can be the matter between life and death, really. And, thankfully, that was one of the ASIAX equipped airports. The ATC did execute, the pilot listened to it, and immediately rejected takeoff.
Gotcha. So my last question for you is, what are the barrier to entry to get this system into the flight deck for a major operator?
So the number one barrier is cost, right? I mean, airlines are super cost sensitive. And because we haven't had that big accident, we've had a lot of near misses, and near misses cost the airlines money too. There's investigations, there's training, it still costs them money. But I would say, cost is really number one in adoption. It's a very, there's really little to no training. So, these are the alerts. It says it's like a third pair of eyes, it's just hey, there's traffic on the runway. Pilot still needs to do what the pilot's going to do. It's not a command guidance system. So training is minimal, but, the cost to acquire and equip, there's minimal downtime to the aircraft, but there is, software update, and you need to run pair of twisted wires from your traffic computer to EGPWS, so that EGPWS gets the message. So, but it could be done with, regular maintenance routine, the software upgrade to it. So yeah, it's not for grade, but
yeah, well, and so you're saying it's basically a minor hardware upgrade but more so on the software side of things.
Yeah, so it's a software upgrade to add the threat algorithms, and then the EGPWS needs to get the traffic information, what they call the DTIF, the digital traffic information, from the traffic computer. Usually they're located in the same eBay, electronic bay, couple feet apart. But there's, receptors already there. It's ready to take in the wire and the traffic information. But yeah.
When do you expect this to hit the market?
So we expect this to be certified and entry into service within 18 months.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Steve, for coming to talk to us today. I appreciate the insight.
Well, thanks for your interest in the topic of runway safety. It certainly is an area that we can improve in our industry. So thanks for your attention.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We do it all. We do it all.
Hundreds of majors, an amazing campus, faculty mentors. You can find what you're looking for at Middle Tennessee State, the University of Opportunities. We do it all.
It's happening. Okay, it's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Get. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
All right, welcome back everybody to Oshkosh Live 2024. I'm Kaylee Nix, and we're super excited to welcome you guys into our next segment featuring Plane and Pilot. I'm here with our editor-in-chief of Plane and Pilot, Amy Wilder. Amy, we got a little bit of a mixed bag for everybody this week. We're talking a little bit Learn to Fly. We're talking a little bit about culture in space here at Oshkosh, which you and I are going to dig into a little bit here today as well. And I've got to say, I'm super, super excited to be here on this one. And before we get too far into it, I got to give a big shout out to some of our sponsors here. As you guys can all tell, we're in the Redbird Flight booth. And this show, Oshkosh Live as a whole, was brought to you guys by them. Couldn't have happened without them. So thank you so much to them for their space, for their support, and for letting us take over, I'd say about a third of their booth space, which should have been reserved for, I think, some Sims. And they let us do this instead. How awesome is that?
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you guys to Redbird Flight. Thank you also to Middle Tennessee State University, MTSU. They sponsored our previous segment, Airline Geeks. Thank you guys for that one. We chatted with them a little bit earlier on our flying morning show. We'll also get to get social with them at about 12 o'clock Central Time this afternoon. So we'll walk over there and check out their tent a little bit and get to hang out with some of the students. Right now, we're going to get started with Amy Wilder, as I mentioned, our editor-in-chief of Plane and Pilot magazine. Amy, this is my first Oshkosh. I'm not a pilot, but maybe I'm an aspiring pilot. So Plane and Pilot's the space for me, right? Even if I'm not one yet?
Absolutely. So I'm actually a student pilot, and I think no matter how many certifications I get as a pilot, I will identify as a student pilot. So I'm always open to stories from pilots and learning new things. So my focus this week is really on areas of learning for pilots, whether you already have a certificate or you're interested in getting started, and also some of the cool things that Oshkosh has to offer that people might not know about on the culture side. So,
yeah, that's the best attitude I think to have, right? Because nobody ever knows everything. If you're a pilot that thinks like, yeah, I've hit the top line of my education, chances are you have so much more to learn, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The cliche saying is a good pilot is always learning.
Yeah.
And the more flight experience I get, the more I realize I need to learn. I'll never climb the mountain of knowledge that is aviation, but there is so much to explore. It's really wonderful.
So speaking of things to explore and things to learn, this is my first time up here at EAA. This is my first Oshkosh. Rumor has it that this is your second one,
This is
right?
my second Oshkosh.
Okay. So I've got maybe like a half-seasoned pro, at least somebody who's been here before, so she knows more than I do. I got to know, what are some of the things that you need to know about Oshkosh, as in like you must do this, and what are some of the things where you're like, you absolutely don't do this, you got to avoid it?
Yeah, so I learned a lot last year. It was my first Oshkosh. I think the first lesson is be patient. Try to have a schedule of things that you'd like to do, but things are going to go sideways. They call it the Oshkosh vortex. So, just be open to the way that things flow in the moment. You're going to get swept up in interesting conversations. You're going to find a really interesting pilot to talk to as you're walking through the grounds, and you may not keep the rigid schedule that you had planned. I think the other thing that I learned is try not to be out walking around in the early to mid-afternoon. It gets pretty hot out here, so find a shady place to sit and watch the air show if you can, or enjoy a snack somewhere. So,
yeah. I think I was relatively underprepared, because yesterday here during setup, everybody tells me like, oh my gosh, Oshkosh is miserable, it's hot, it's humid, it's sunny. Yesterday was absolutely gorgeous. Like, it was stunningly beautiful outside. We had some cloud cover all over the pretty much entire scape of the day. It was about like 78 to 80 all day, kind of like mid to low humidity. Today's a different story. The sun is shining. I'm sure you guys can see it behind me. There's no breeze. There's no cloud cover. That humidity is starting to crank, and I think our high today is supposed to be like 88 to 90. So name of the game is hydration, staying inside, finding your shade. Where is your favorite place to find refuge at Oshkosh?
Oh, I actually really am partial to the media tent. I realize most people can't go there. But there are a few places that are cooler. Obviously, just sitting in the shade of a tree or something. There are a lot of member-specific areas. So, if you're a member of one of the societies, they might have an air-conditioned location. I believe Garmin has some air conditioning in their tent, and if you're an EAA lifetime member, you can get access to their air conditioning as well. So
someone at the museum is like, why have you spent 85 hours going around and around our museum and seeing everything? And it's like, I'm just here for the AC, man. That's it. So we're going to move on a little bit to your story and talking about you as a pilot and you coming to be editor-in-chief of Plane and Pilot. Because as we know, Plane and Pilot is part of our group of properties here at Flying Media Group. And it's really a unique one because it's very community focused. And I feel like you guys have a really kind of close-knit circle. How did you come from starting as a writer at Flying to now leading over Plane and Pilot?
Yeah. So I started as copy editor at Flying Magazine in January 2023, and Craig bought Plane and Pilot at Sun and Fun 2023. It was one of his first acquisitions after Flying Magazine in the aviation space. And I took over last April as editor. Technically, I'm managing editor, but I sort of fill all of the roles. I wear many, many hats at Plane and Pilot. But as far as community, yes, we have a really close-knit group of contributors to Plane and Pilot. My role is really to stand back and facilitate their work. They're the experts. I learn a lot from these guys. They've been doing it much longer than I have. I've been in journalism for a while, but not aviation-specific journalism. So, I think my role is to be humble and to be open to stories and to help them find the interesting stories. And what I'm really interested in as an editor is the stories of the people in aviation, because when you're talking to people, whether they've had a career in aviation or they've always wanted to fly and they never quite got around to it, they've got stories. And those stories never get old. And airplanes have stories too. They've got really interesting histories. You can follow them through their ownership journeys and their, refurbishings, and it's really interesting to dig up those stories. And I think those are the things that people connect with typically. So
yeah, as somebody who kind of always grew up with this fascination of aviation and this fascination of airplanes, I'm a meteorologist by trade, right? Meteorologist by degree. So naturally, my head was literally always up in the clouds. I just never thought to make the connection between meteorology and aviation until maybe about 5 to 6 years ago. And then I was like, okay, I see I could have a serious vested interest in learning to fly and figuring out this whole space. It's overwhelming at the start because there are so many different niche groups. There are so many different pieces where you could jump in and say, hey, maybe I'm interested in this, but wait, actually I'm interested in this. And then all of a sudden I'm building my own aircraft from a kit, like Mark Cook at Kit Planes, right? Not going to go down that road. But that's kind of the whole point is the connection. And I like that you mentioned the fact that airplanes have stories and people have stories. My future grandfather-in-law is holding on to, I think he's a 1952 Piper. It's a 4-seater, and it's been in his hangar for probably 30 years without being flown. Eventually, he wants me to refurbish it, and I'm like, I've got no idea where to start. Well, the first place to start is probably to learn how to fly it, and then refurb it, right? Yeah. But those are the types of stories that really make an impact on people, and you can really kind of find here at Oshkosh. From last year to this year, is there anyone that stands out as a story that was kind of like, wow, I'm so glad I met this person or got to talk about this topic?
Yeah, there's so many. I actually connected with people last year at Oshkosh who I have since gotten to fly with. I met Ed Wiesmeyer at a dinner. He's a CFI, and we chatted. And he's also an aviation journalist. He writes for various publications. So we've collaborated on some projects. And one of my segments this week is actually a flight with Ed Wiesmeyer talking about base to final turn accidents and walking through why that happens.
I love that. Being able to fly with someone like that who has a wealth of experience, as you mentioned, only kind of helps you climb that mountain of aviation knowledge. Is there anybody that you're like, man, I would really love an opportunity to fly with them? We're not going to give away your guests right now because we're about to toss into it. But
we're not giving away my guests?
We'll give it a minute. But anybody where you're like, okay, they're on my bucket list of people to fly with.
Oh gosh. Living or dead. That is really tough. There's a long list. I think Catherine Stinson would be my pick. She had such an interesting history, and I am also a huge fan of Stinson airplanes, so it's all within the same, family. Yeah. Those are my favorite airplanes. I actually got to go interview a Stinson Gullwing pilot this morning in the vintage area, and I was pretty much incoherent because I just love them so much. I was just like, this is cool. So, yeah.
That's like the word of the week, right? I'm going to have to keep count of how many times I'm like, oh, this is cool. Oh, this is cool. And then see how many my tally is at the end. I think I'm like up to maybe 35 or 40 already just today. Wow. So, I hear the fighter jets going by in the background and I'm like, that's really, really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and introduce your guest for today, because you got to take another really exciting flight with a really, really accomplished female pilot.
Yeah. So I went to the Patty Wagstaff School in St. Augustine, Florida, and I actually flew with her chief flight instructor, Alan Moore, who is a fantastic instructor. I did their 2-hour upset prevention and recovery training course, which I would recommend for any pilots. 2 hours of ground school and 2 flights. You start out with, simple yaw exercises. You move into stalls and stall recovery, and then, you get to do the fun stuff like aileron rolls, which honestly I thought I was going to hate. I was really nervous. I tend to be a timid pilot. I am really afraid of over-controlling my airplanes, so I didn't know what to expect, but Alan is such a great instructor. He made it, he broke it down, made it approachable, and it was a fantastic experience. And I came out of it feeling more confident about my flying overall, and also more aware of the extent to which you have to practice to maintain proficiency. And so it was wonderful.
Well, we love it. We're going to take an inside look at that flight with Patty Wagstaff's team right now. And when we come back after that, we'll break it down a little bit. So let's check it out.
Okay, now we're going to move the stick left. Look straight ahead. There's inverted. I mentioned the nose is going to be downhill, didn't I? Or down.
Aerobatics are challenging, fun, and safe when flown within your personal and your airplane's limitations. Flying in 3 dimensions literally broadens the pilot's horizons. The discipline of aerobatics rewards us with a freedom found nowhere else in aviation.
My name's Alan Moore, Chief Instructor here at Patty Wagstaff Aerobatics School in St. Augustine, Florida. And we have 2 super decathlons and an extra 300L that we teach. The primary customer that we take care of is for the upset recovery training. Almost everybody universally is starting to recognize that they're ill-prepared under the normal training curriculum and the normal training style to handle an upset, a genuine upset, which usually results in loss of control. Even in a 2-flight program, our confidence course in the decathlon, we can reverse a lot of bad habits, bring to your attention some really important fundamentals. For example, most everybody are taught airspeed, and ball in the middle. And the proper technique for manipulating all airplanes, it's actually pitch awareness, pitch rate, pitch authority using the elevator, and then yaw, not the ball, not side slip, but the yaw by observing it at the nose of the airplane. So all these are outside cues, and we introduce it because it's foreign to most people because they've been taught in a conventional manner. So from there, once we start to explore where yaw comes from, then we explore the stall behavior of our airplanes, explore that thoroughly. Most people only get just a little taste of kind of stall recognition. They get the horn and then they're recovering. We go right up into the deep stall, exploring what ailerons do to the stall, what yaw does to the stall. We explore kind of a mythical thing called an accelerated stall. I actually call it stalls while we're turning, that base to final turn. We explore that left and right, and doing it coordinated and doing it when there's an additional yaw imposed. So that's the in a nutshell what we do here. I personally have been flying for 26,700 hours. 19,000 hours of that was at the little airline called Comair. I was based in Cincinnati. I was based in Detroit the last few years of my career. In the meantime, I've been a flight instructor for 36 years, I believe, 35 years perhaps. And the majority of my time has been at the St. Augustine Airport. And it's been an aerobatic community here since the beginning. I was mentored by some of the best aviators on the planet at the time. This is all back in the late 80s. Jim Holland, Jim Moser, Carl Pascarell, Elliot Cross. These are names from the past, and they mentored me through just my regular teaching, primary students, commercial students, instrument students, into the aerobatic world with the Citabrias, the decathlons, eventually the pits. The airport was one of the early distributors of the Extra 300. Consequently, that opened my door, my segue into the extra world. And there was all kinds of activity here. We do have an aerobatic box on the airport. So again, that's been a mentor or a foundation for aerobatic community and people migrating to this airport. So it's just been a really, really wonderful experience being here for the last, since the late 80s. I have been at the PADI School for going on 10 years full time, and I look forward to doing this for about the next 20 years. So it's fun. We're not here to impress how well we can fly the airplane. We're here to share a wealth of information where it's desperately needed in the world of aviation, because our culture is morphing into more of a managerial style. If you manage your cockpit correctly, all of the fancy panel stuff, the electronics, if you manage that appropriately, you'll be safe and fine. And the data has not been proven that does in any way, shape, or form actually improve safety. Good handling of the machine, positive control of the airplane, taking command of it mentally from the beginning, as soon as you get in the airplane, flying the airplane with precision, discipline. These are all things that are typically foreign to the average student that shows up here, whether they've got 60 hours or whether they've even got upwards in the thousands of hours. They are, most of them have never heard the majority of this information. So,
doesn't need to be. There's the full back stick. There's the left yaw. Look down the nose.
So
look how much.
Going that way.
Yeah, there's a half a turn. There's auto rotation. Okay, hold on. Wait.
Oh.
Now, full right rudder. Hit it. Center your elevator. Lift your toes. Just lift your toes. Yeah. Did you see how much time we had for that first half turn?
Yes, it was really slow and then it sped up.
And then what was that speeding up?
Getting closer to the helix?
That was auto rotation. That was when the yaw and the roll coupled together. All right, look left, turn left. There's your airport.
That's actually the pinnacle, what I call the pinnacle of our training here, and that is the human interfacing with the machine. And humans, we have a mechanism, and that is a reflexive mechanism. It's actually called the Moro reflex. It's something that is tested as soon as we're born in the delivery room with the infants. That reflexive action when we sense less than 1 G. This mechanism protects us in all other aspects of life, tripping, falling, bicycles, even automobile accidents. I believe it's a benefit. In airplanes, this is the major contributing factor to perpetuating the loss of control. And to go through it systematically, being subjected to less than 1 G, down to about a half a G, causes this reflexive tucking mechanism. Well, if you have a hand on the yoke, that is what? Back elevator. So the scenario is the pilot stalls the airplane unintentionally. Typically there's yaw involved there. You will have an airplane that does a wing drop. The recovery, the correct recovery, is look for the horizon, unload the elevator, roll the wings to level, recover the pitch. However, the normal reaction of a human is going to be that clutch. They're going to be looking down the nose of the airplane at the ground. They yank the yoke back reflexively. This is not a conscious thought. And then typically it is also a reactive aileron deflection. That active aileron deflection, as we know from Student Pilot 101, deflecting the aileron does what? It adds yaw into the stall event. So the pilot is unintentionally, reactively stalling the airplane, secondary stall, and energizing, reactively throwing an aileron, and that introduces additional yaw, if you stall an airplane, you have yaw coming from somewhere. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the rudder. It can come from the ailerons. It can come from the P factor. It can even come from multi-engine airplanes, asymmetric thrust, but it has to be stalled, yaw coming from somewhere, time, so that the airplane transitions past about a half a turn where the yaw and the roll couple together. And at that point, it is a spin. The first half turn, I believe, is in any scenario, is completely recoverable if the pilot is appropriately trained with the look, unload, roll, recover, the procedure. But it's not just memorizing the procedure, because your human nature, without exposure and without repetitive training, which you get here in the first couple hours, without that repetitive training, you can watch all the YouTube you want and play all the Atari video games you want. That is not going to override this reflexive action. Startle response, clutch reflex. And again, I would say of all the elements of upset recovery, that is and must be the focal point. We need to start writing articles about it. We need to start talking to flight academies and interjecting unloading in the syllabus, because that is the only thing that is going to start to reduce the loss of control events, which is about once every 5 days, I believe, is the latest statistic. So it's a very sad statistic. So when in the unload of the elevator, when every fiber of your being is wanting to pull and throw, that unload is completely removing the danger. Roll, recover. One of the huge things here is we do try to put people at ease. This is, quite frankly, some folks quite terrifying. It takes a great deal of courage to sign yourself up, go to a remote location, be introduced to instructors and equipment that you've never seen or flown before. So it takes a great deal of courage. I just want folks to understand that we're, again, not here to beat you up or to teach you pulling 6 Gs and abusing you. We're here, we'll put you at ease. We actually have therapy puppies. Patty has a couple of puppies that we can calm ourselves. We will get in the airplane. It's very methodical with our ground briefings, extensive briefings before the flying. And it's just absolutely essential that we put people at ease to come and get this training. We, quite frankly, have never had a complaint, ever, not one, about our system here. We do, of course, have a minor notation of nausea. We're doing a lot of yawing of the airplane and moving of the airplane. That's unusual. Nausea can be a factor. We all wear a relief band, which mitigates that. But don't fear that, and there's no shame in that. I mean, this is what we want folks to understand. It may be a little intimidating and a little sketchy, but we're here to guide you through it. We're not going to let anything bad happen. Our aircraft are safe, maintained, and we are experts at what we do. So this, again, you cannot read this in a book. You cannot watch this on a video. This is something that must be a real life experience.
You might be thinking, I would like to learn aerobatics. Well, you should learn. Aerobatics will make you a safer, more skilled, and a more confident pilot. Look, everybody has questions like, will I be able to handle it? Will I be good at it? What if it's not for me? The short answer is yes, everyone can learn aerobatics, and I will show you. Aerobatics are not only a fun challenge, they will give you the skills and confidence to be the master of your airplane in any situation. A course in aerobatics is the best way to become a better pilot and to expand your understanding of aerodynamics and aircraft control.
We saw that there. Thank you to Sporties for that extra footage of Patty and her team. I love it because it's so relatable. You do the roll and you're like, oh my gosh, I need a second to calm down, right?
You know, my reaction, I thought that I was going to be overwhelmed by those, but my reaction was really, this is fun, let's do it again.
See, there you go. So. There you go. When are we going to see you start flying an aerobatic airplane? For real, for real.
You know, Patty sells t-shirts at her hangar with her logo and some hashtags on the back, and the last hashtag is not responsible for your addiction. And that's a really, you know, important one because I'm one time is not enough. Yeah. I need to go back. I need to learn more. So.
All right, adding it to the 8 million mile long bucket list of what to do at Oshkosh, find my way into an aerobatic airplane at some point in time.
Maybe not at Oshkosh, but...
No, Oshkosh. Well, okay. For things to
Taking
do
a few lessons.
From Oshkosh. Take a few lessons. There we go. All right, Amy, let's talk really quickly about what's coming up throughout the rest of the week because, as we know, we got 5 days of coverage here at Oshkosh, and we've got 5 plane and pilot segments. That was our first one. What do we got on deck for tomorrow?
Yeah, so tomorrow we have some news from the vintage aviation area. We went to the ribbon cutting for the new youth hangar in the vintage area, and we have a special guest interview for that. And we've also talked to some pilots, you know, just got the pilot stories. And later in the week, we have some more safety and training videos and some more colorful Oshkosh content. So.
There we go. I love it. We're covering a lot of the culture here. That's why our segment for this one is titled Prop Culture. I've heard the story, and this sounds crazy. A campground yodeler. What the heck is that?
We are trying to get to the bottom of the campground yodeler, so if anybody out there knows the story of the yodeler, so I'll tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Every morning at 7 o'clock, there's a loudspeaker broadcast of yodeling here at Oshkosh, so it gets the campers out of bed bright and early. You can actually hear it from here in the Redbird tent, and we're trying really hard to figure out who that is, and you know, whether it's a recording of somebody who was here 40 years ago and they rebroadcast it every year, or if the yodeler is actually out there, we would love to hear from you. So.
All right, so this is an all call. If you're watching our stream, if you are listening to us, if you're here in the Redbird booth and you hear us talking, we need intel on who the campground yodeler is. We can do an anonymous interview. We can shroud their face and keep it hidden, but we gotta know who's the campground yodeler.
Yeah.
My money's on Russ Niles.
I would not be surprised if it was Russ.
There we go. All right. Coming up, we of course have our first air show this afternoon. What are you most excited about seeing here this week? Is it a certain plane? Is it a certain show? What are we excited about?
Yeah, so, you know, my favorite things are who doesn't love the Warbirds? Yeah. I love going over there. Everybody's got a story. People are super nice. I love the vintage area, of course. And really, I love walking around and just interacting with people. Everybody just turns into a little kid during Oshkosh. Yeah. I like to say it's summer camp for pilots, and it really is. Everybody is eager to meet new people, talk about airplanes. It's just a bunch of, like, you know, grown-up kids who love airplanes.
We're all just playing around with very heavy and very expensive pieces of machinery.
That's fine.
That's it. That's it. All right, Amy, well, thank you so much for joining us for this first Plane and Pilot segment. Are you going to be at the Flying Awards tonight?
I will be at the Flying Awards tonight, so if you happen to be there, come say hi.
And if you're the campground yodeler, we want to know that it's you.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to go ahead and take a really quick break. One more time, thank you to all of our sponsors for this segment here today. Redbird Flight, big shout out to them again for letting us use this booth space, for putting this on. We are so grateful for having their help in this platform. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Mark Cook and his Kit Plane segment coming up in just about a minute.
It's happening. Okay, it's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Yeah. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
I thought I was going into the shade, not into the sun.
Hi everybody and welcome. Mark Cook with Kit Planes Magazine for our Build to Fly segment. We're here at the Redbird Pavilion. Thanks to Redbird for helping us support this program, and thanks to you guys for watching. It's been an exciting first day of Oshkosh, believe it or not. I'm here with Mark Becker, who's the head of the Aviation Division, Aircraft Division. We almost got that right at Rotax. And it seems like Rotax has been everywhere lately. When you look around at some of the new models that have come out and some of the airplanes that have been re-engined, it's a lot of activity in Rotax. So you guys have been busy. Clearly it's been successful. Why do you think you've been that successful? What's sort of the key to what makes you guys fly, so to speak?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I think it's a big part of that is having so many different OEMs installing the engine. You always try to find a good compromise. And I think what we learned over the years is really listen to what the OEMs needed. And having that baseline lightweight engine actually helped to cater a lot of that in that engine segment. And I think we just had it right, listening at the right time to the right persons, and actually turning that into engines for people who actually pretty much love it.
I think that's fair to say. And two, what's happening is with the 916, has that got a Rotax in it or no?
Maybe not. Something maybe.
Next generation Rotax. Yeah. You heard it here first. So obviously with the 916 gaining the extra 20 horsepower, that has opened up a lot of opportunities.
Like this one.
I like that. A lot of opportunities for airframes that maybe weren't on board. So how does that play into your strategic planning?
Well, what it does help, obviously, and you're right, it's actually what really played in our field is already with the 940, 950, we tried to prove that you could use these engines on a four-seater airplane. Yet, obviously, you have people thinking differently because they expect that all time, like at least 40 to 50 horsepower per passenger and like that. But I think already Sling started proving it quite a bit. The 915 even more so, which also was in the Sling and kind of helped a lot. And I think the 960 was just the next step where we really got to the point that now we can really prove it. It's even sport in a four-seater. It's even more sport in a two-seater. It's great for a gyro, even with payload. And I think that kind of played out very well for us.
So the 916 is, like I said, a big jump in horsepower. I think a lot of people look at the package and they go, well, the 915 and 916 are kind of the same engine, but that's not the case. So what's different between the two, top line?
Yeah. Well, from the outside, it does look like the same engine. Obviously, it's the same basis. The main change we had, which is obvious, is the calibration, which doesn't go that to that same altitude, like this. But obviously provides that extra horsepower on takeoff and more fuel efficiency in cruise. So, in order to do that, obviously from the experience we have with the 950, we already had some learning. So there is actually about 4 dozen improvements, but it's all inside. So that's why from the outside it doesn't show. I mean, to name the major one, the gearbox is a different one. There's internal beefing up on the pistons, on the com rods, on the crankshaft, all that to really make sure we get to that TBO with that higher horsepower.
I think it's significant that you not only increase the horsepower, but you increase the TBO over the 915. That must have taken a lot of development work to get there.
Yes, obviously at the end you need to prove for yourself and your customers, but you also need to prove for your authority. It does help to have an engine out there which is very similar and already had all that experience. You had tens of thousands of hours already out in the field, and then but just running it up, taking it. So taking these engines who already ran to 1200 and then taking them back, inspect them, and run them up to 2000, 2500 and even more to prove that was the next natural stop, and that kind of helped us to go to the 2000 TBO right out of the box.
That's good. So Rotax obviously is a global company that plays into a global market. So fuels is an issue certainly today in the US, and probably fuels availability worldwide is an issue. How does that inform your design and manufacturing?
Well, it is even a big topic for us. I mean, we're not so much concerned on the avgas versus non-leaded fuel because we can run on both. Still, we see the impact on the industry, but it's further developments as well because we can run on MoGas, but there's a different control on automotive gas than there is on the aviation fuel. And just to name one example, ethanol content is a big time. We allow up to 10% ethanol, but Brazil uses up to 20 something. India's already above 10%, so obviously that's also something we need to consider.
Welcome to Oshkosh.
Yes. So that does play a big role whenever you look into it. Can we actually run it on higher ethanol contents? How much can we make sure that the engine is less susceptible to different quality standards of fuel that you will have out there once you start getting MoGas from a less controlled environment?
Absolutely. So I think it's important to note that it's not just the mechanical part of the engine we're talking about, but what enables the horsepower and the tolerance for different fuels is the electronics package, the ECU. How much time do you guys spend developing that? Is that a big part of your R&D?
It is an ever-growing part of the R&D. I think it's pretty much similar to what you see in the car industry, where the base engine pretty much doesn't change that much because the physics is pretty known. There's slight improvements over time. The big improvements really lie in the electronics. How quick... Just in case somebody's wondering, are we really in Oshkosh?
We're really in Oshkosh.
We are.
Absolutely.
So yes, they do play a more and more important part because now the modern electronics has so much capability and possibility to control the engine even more tighter, which allows you to go more to a limit on the engine because you have the sensors realizing that part and then taking care of it.
So a big part of that electronic control is simplifying for the pilot. Obviously taking mixture control out of the equation. How important is that to the OEMs, and how important is that to the pilots who fly these? Is that really one of those killer features, as they say?
Well, talking of the pilots, you always know we have these two different breeds of pilots, these old kind of style pilots we want to have 10. They either want a big lever like this, or they want 10 levers to deal with. There's also an ever-growing part of... But obviously there's a growing part of young pilots coming into, they don't want to deal with all of that. They're really happy to have mixture control. I mean, an automatic propeller control would be the next obvious step. And even going down to on engine startup to do all the procedures, test procedures. It's something we surely have on our to-do list to simplify that even more. But at the end of the day, you're getting more into that car industry type and taking off the pilots the load you think the pilot doesn't really need because he's there for other things which are more important than running the engine.
So we're going to get to the point where you put the key in, press the button, and the engine starts itself?
I guess it's a few years out, but ideally that's what we're working towards.
So I know we talked a lot about the growth for Rotax and the 916. We're seeing a lot of airplanes that are built sort of around the 900, let's call it the 900 series engines. I think the traditional aircraft engines had been so dominant for so long, but now we're seeing a lot of airplanes designed with this footprint in mind. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes us very proud, but it is also a big responsibility because you need to make sure whenever you come up with an engine, they're going to design around it. So you want to make sure you get the best fit of whatever they envision to do. So yes, you're proud on seeing that, and you see all the cowling, and from the cowling you see it's on Rotax inside, but at the same time it always gives you that homework to say, we got so many OEMs now, so whenever we come up with something different, we better make sure it really fits, and it fits their ideas. So it's for us, we homework to understand all of these different ideas and trying to make the best compromise in terms of what's the engine for it.
Absolutely, and of course the power to weight ratio helps a lot. You can design an engine that's narrow, or you can design an airframe that's narrow. And of course the fuel efficiency helps a lot too. I have a question about the manufacturing side. So we're hearing a lot about supply chain issues, and certainly some of the manufacturers, not just in engines, but across the industry have been having that. How does Rotax approach that, and do you have enough sort of embedded that you're a little protected from that, or is that still an issue?
Well, truth to be told, especially during COVID, we did get hit. I think it's fair to say. I think our benefit is, and that's where it comes handy to be in a big corporate, we do a couple 100,000 engines a year. So obviously there's a different approach to how you deal with your supplier, and you have somewhat of a different level to make sure you still get the parts. Besides that, obviously we also through COVID went through that learnings that, especially on critical items, you either start doing it in-house, or you make sure you don't do that just in time anymore that much. Yeah. You don't optimize it, you don't over-optimize it. You're trying to get a handoff, and let's make sure we at least got in a sufficient amount of parts back in the stock. And I think the second part, which helped big time for us, is since we sell everything for distribution systems, and the distributor are required to have a certain amount of stock, which usually goes anything between at least 3 to 6 months in advance. That obviously helped a lot in softening out that kind of backlog facing that we had, because we always had a little more master playing around with the engines we had, and kind of softened it out.
So it sounds like you're kind of approaching it from a lot of different angles. And of course, volume does help. Has Rotax's business, I'm not asking for the raw numbers, but in general terms, how has the growth been over the last decade?
It's been pretty good. I mean, we did see a hit in COVID, to be fair, but while everybody was expecting that to really be a big hit, we didn't see the big hit. Quite the opposite was the time. Apparently people had time, especially on the kids builder side. So actually it skyrocketed right at the mid-start of COVID, actually down to the point where we had trouble actually producing the numbers we've been asked for. And we still see that high numbers. Now we start seeing a little slowdown, especially in terms of a backlog on the OEM side, but it's still a pretty strong market, and I guess it's still a good market for us to be in.
Yeah. Well, certainly that is growing, and I think if you guys should choose to move up in the horsepower range, that's certainly some other opportunities. I'm also curious about developing new airframes is really a hand-in-hand relationship with the engine manufacturer, and traditionally the Lycomings and the Continentals work very closely with the the Cessnas and the Pipers. How is that relationship with, say, Cub Crafters and Kit Fox and some of those manufacturers who are, implementing new engines for you?
That's something actually we kind of learned from the way the Lycomings and Continentals did it. They have a little bit of a different setup. Most of their engines are into existing airframes, not so much into the new ones. For us, it was the complete opposite for a long, long time, and still is quite. At the same time, we have a lot of different OEMs, so we're finding that right compromise for all that OEMs has always been a big topic for us. And over the last years, especially coming up with the 915 and now with the 916, we developed that to a new level for us to be much more integrated in their early design on. And I think you mentioned a Cub Craft has been the perfect example where early on we had an OEM who knew exactly what he wanted to, how he envisioned the engine to look like, which was a big help for us because we knew, okay, that's how we do it, and that will be a perfect fit then. And I guess the result proves the right approach.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you for your time today. It's been a great talk. Jets notwithstanding, you know you're at Oshkosh when there's jet noise.
Yeah, that's right.
So Rotax has got a huge display here. So if you're on site, come say hi to them. I'm sure you have some tech people who can answer some questions.
Oh, yes.
Got some interesting airplanes out there. And speaking of the 916, we're going to go take a look at the Sling TSI and the High Wing. We had a chance to catch up with those guys. They brought a couple of airplanes from Southern California to Oshkosh that they're going to show off. That's at the booth right now. We'll get a little more background on the development and how those airplanes are performing. Hi, it's Mark Cook for Kit Planes, Airventure 2024. Here with John at the Sling booth. And they've got a couple of new airplanes, new old airplanes, familiar airplanes, but with a little bit of a different touch. Yeah. Truly, these guys put up a historic effort to get these airplanes ready for Oshkosh. Sling TSI and a Sling High Wing with a 916. Tell me a little bit about this project.
Well, we've always envisaged being here with these two airplanes for Oshkosh, and we were going along with our normal production of aircraft, but from the beginning of the year, we said these two are going to be ready for Oshkosh. And the sling, the TSI was fitted in nicely, and we were getting that going. But Mark, two of the things that are different, or a few of the things that are different with these two projects that led us to having the sort of last hard push at the end was, one is the new 916 engine, the propeller, and another big one is we're doing our own avionics in these two particular aeroplanes, as opposed to where we normally get the plug and play from Midwest panel builders. And so there were these challenges that we met with. The new engine required the new cowling, and of course, you know, Sling has developed this new high wing, which when you develop a new aeroplane, there are a lot of challenges along the way. And, you know, from their first iteration of cowlings and things that came out in the first models, the 3 that flew here 2 years ago from South Africa, there have been some changes. So we've been going along with the changes, and some of the changes we were doing as we were building, we almost finished the fuselages, then there was another change, and we wanted to arrive here with the most up-to-date model, which we've managed to do. The factory's been very supportive in doing a DHL express shipment of stuff over to us. In fact, we got the last bit of the upholstery about 3 hours before we left on the trip to Oshkosh. So there was a quick rush to put that in. But so there was a push at the end. We did a few all-nighters, and historically, Oshkosh has always been the deadline that has caused us to really push and get airplanes here. You know, we've done that over the years from Sling in South Africa, and this year we had that same pressure, but it helped get us 2 airplanes finished, ready for Oshkosh.
You kind of had that when you introduced the high wing here, because you guys got the 2 airplanes in.
Yeah.
I won't say the last minute, but after the show had started, and it was like, boy, that must have been, it felt really good to get that done.
Yeah.
So going back to the TSI then, so obviously we'll come back to the high wing, but you've been flying that airplane with a 915 for a long time, and that was sort of your baseline engine.
Yes.
How is the 916 installation differ?
Well, mainly the biggest difference was the cowling that required a slight modification to the intercooler intake. And, you know, you make more horsepower, you build up more heat, you need to manage that a little better. So that was the main challenge, because it bolts on similarly. There were some last-minute changes to the fuel pump system, and we've got the fuel pump system on recommended by Rotax now. We did some testing, found a few changes we made, and got that perfect. And I must say, on both these aircraft with the 916, it seems like the fuel system is really matches the engine now. It supplies the fuel sufficiently for the engine to make the horsepower consistently.
That's good to hear. So obviously the 916 and 915, sort of same footprint. You're dealing with a little bit more heat, but you've also made some changes on the propeller side. You guys have moved to an MT propeller and a control system.
Yes. So traditionally we've mainly on the Sling 4s, the TSI, we've been using the Airmaster propeller, which is a superbly engineered product. And when we went to the 916, we looked at the MT, and the MT had a product already tested and developed for the horsepower. And we've always wanted to try the hydraulically governed propeller. And this was my first experience with it. The factory's done it. I did fly with James in South Africa. We did one just long cross-country flight, and it seemed, oh, what, you set it and you go. And nothing more, and you know. A lot of people with the Airmaster prop have said, no, they want the Airmaster on the 916 because it's easy, it's a knob. Sure. But this is as easy, if not easier. And it's, you know, we put them on, and immediately, as the first takeoff I did with the 916 power and that kind of control of the propeller, it was absolutely superb. It was wonderful, and I've really fallen in love with the MT propeller. Yeah.
Now, I know you guys have just started flying these, but do you have any performance statistics that you've seen out of the airplanes yet, or is it a little too early to tell?
It's a little too early to give you precise figures, but of course there's a marked improvement on the climb out. The takeoff roll has improved dramatically. I flew with Paul, who'd flown the high wing with the 915 in South Africa. And of course there's a little bit of a gain. Numbers are numbers, and you know, with an experienced pilot like Paul, he remembers the feel, and the 916, you feel the difference in both aircraft, of course. And it's really been a game changer for the high wing, because it's given that extra punch for the takeoff roll and the climb out. And you know, Paul could feel the difference immediately. Yeah.
You mentioned that to me too, and thought that that extra 20 horsepower for takeoff really makes a difference.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in some other airplanes with the 916.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does this fold into sales plans for the company? Obviously, both of these airplanes are doing really well. It seems to me that the high wing has done very well for you. What are your goals for the year ahead?
Well, one is to get the production of the high wing up. In our facility, South Africa is getting the production up. They've done a wonderful job of ramping up getting all the latest versions all sorted out and ready for production, and done a wonderful job of getting into production. Our earlier sales or targets for production have been far
exceeded?
Far exceeded, sorry, I'm brain's fried. So, the original expectations for production have been far exceeded. We had a long waiting list, which is shortening down. We've got a lot of high wings in production in Torrance, in the custom build center. And those are, we've kind of, now that it's always, the first one is always difficult because the technicians working on it are not quite sure. And, we've been, each question has been, every morning, my mornings at 7 o'clock in the morning are spent on WhatsApp with a production engineer at the factory and saying, how do we do that? What's that? What's the latest on that? And now that we kind of got one out, I think the whole production staff is going to be a lot more confident. So we've been building traditionally 1 to 1.5 airplanes a month at Torrance. We're going to have that up to 2 within the next couple of months, and then hopefully more.
That's great.
So we've got a good team of technicians now. And now it's time to get each one of them shadowed. And there'll be the painful process of the initial growth. But once they trained up, then we'll be going. Yeah.
Now, I understand one of these airplanes has kind of a special treat on it. You guys have installed air conditioning.
Yes. So I was very happy to show Paul that the heat yesterday to turn that on. And before we even started our taxi run, it was down to about 42 degrees. And by the time we were ready for takeoff, it was down to 37 degrees in the outlet, which is just over, for my South African friends, it's just over 2 degrees, so 2.8 degrees, so it's close to freezing. And it really makes it very, very pleasant. It's been engineered beautifully, which I'm sure we'll have some pictures of later, but the compressor and our extra little generator that's been put in works phenomenally well. And we did a lot of testing, and it's got to the point now now we productionize it, and it really works. So 15K BTU, and they're claiming 17. I'm saying 15. Sling always under promises and over delivers. Yes.
So that's going to be an option from the factory, and what are you looking at for price?
I can't tell you price yet. We haven't even really ballparked it. We said we had a budget to get the system right, and to put that into one of our airplanes, we never put anything into our airplanes if it's not tested 100%. We tested it back at Torrance, and now we've tested it running here. We've got the compressor and the generator, which is a small little 30 amp generator that's been produced by Monkworks, and that I want to see, and that's driven off the back of the engine, and I want to make sure that can turn for some hours. So I would say we wouldn't want to go into production and produce these until we've done at least 100 hours of testing. Sure. So we'll get back, we'll put one into the high wing, and by nature, both our planes fly a lot. We fly our demonstration planes a lot. So we want to put hours on both those systems as quickly as possible, and driving them all the time. It's summer now, so we'll use them on every flight
Right.
And I think we've got a great product there. It's a brilliantly engineered system, and it means we'll be able to retrofit the TSIs and the high wings. Of course, this being our first high wing, our intention will be to all the high wings from now on, we'll try and, if they want to, build it in at the beginning, because it is easier to build it in the beginning, but it is retrofittable.
Makes sense. Well, you guys are certainly busy on the development front.
Yeah.
It sounds like things will settle down. You'll be on the production side and getting production ramped up, and then who knows? Next year we may see a new airframe from you. I don't know. The rate you're going, I wouldn't put it past you. So.
I wouldn't say anything.
You heard it here first. Yeah. So. Well, John, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. If you're at Oshkosh, come and see these airplanes. You would have no idea that these were put together in sort of the rush that they were to get here. They don't look it. and we've flown the airplanes, and they're really quite good. So come see them. Enjoy the rest of your Oshkosh.
Thanks.
And welcome back to the Kit Planes Build to Fly segment here from the Redbird Pavilion. Fun airplane, that Sling High Wing in TSI. In fact, look for it in an episode. Look for it at an issue of Kit Planes coming up. Our man Paul Dye got a chance to fly both these airplanes and came away suitably impressed. While we're on the subject of the 916, we're going to throw over to and take a look at Alberto Porto's Risen, which is a really sleek, very fast airplane on that very same engine. Let's have a look. Hi, this is Mark Cook for Kit Planes Magazine. We're here at Airventure 2024. I'm here with Alberto Porto, and this is the Risen. This is a fantastic airplane. I've had a chance to fly it a little bit, but this is kind of a special airplane. We'll get back to that, but for people who don't know the airplane or maybe haven't seen it yet, tell me a little bit about what it is and what your design inspiration was for it.
Well, I mean, we have designed this plane many years ago, but of course the project started slowly. The idea was to have a most efficient plane in the category T, and we did this Risen. Risen is low wing with a philosophy of a glider, more or less. It's a V-tail, retractable gear, and in this case is equipped with a Rotax 916. Believe me, this is a plane capable to spend half of the fuel of my major competitors at the same speed. Okay, we are not talking about just a little different. We are talking a huge difference. And that huge difference comes not only for one airfoil section, it's not coming only for the fuselage shape, it's not coming for the engine installation, it's not coming for the wing, the tails, you know, it's coming for all these little things. It's coming, of course, we design our own airfoil section, we design our own propeller. Everything was designed on purpose for this task.
So how do you get there? I mean, this is such a sleek airplane. Originally, how did you get to that really low stall speed? That's going to take a lot of flight.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you see, the plane is a traditional shape, okay? Very peculiar, it's not like everybody else, but there are no solutions that have not been using before, okay? You see the big airplanes like Boeing or Airbus or whatever, they have this technology using for many years to increase the CL. Okay, so I did the same. Of course, we also see those kind of flaps in another planes of other competitors, but not that extreme. Okay, I just extremized this use of the flap.
So now you transition, now you're beginning to build the 916 version, and tell me a little bit about the performance you're seeing there.
The 912 has, let's say, a little more wind than the 915. Okay, now rules has changed in Europe, but ultralights are able to, let's say, weight 1,300 pounds. So we decided to remove wings to get a next plane, you know, a plane that it will perform more in speed. Okay, so we reduced the wing area by reducing the span on the root. Obviously, we modified the tail to be in agreement with the new wing. And it came up the 916. The 916 is a plane that you fly, let's say, over 140 knots or more. It's had no sense to reduce to 130 knots. So I guess the reasonable numbers that you're expecting in cruise here is in between 180, 200 knots, 210, you know, at most. Otherwise, you're going to burn too much fuel.
That's amazing on the horsepower. That really is. And welcome back. Pretty cool airplane, huh? I've had actually an opportunity to fly the 912 version of that, and the speeds he's quoting are not fiction. It's actually a really, really quick airplane. And I'm really looking forward to flying the one with the 916. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a longer version of that interview with Alberto Porto, as well as his flight mate who crossed the Atlantic in that airplane to get it over here to Oshkosh. So that's quite a story. They did it on a minuscule amount of fuel. Very, very impressive. So Come see us the rest of the week. We have a lot more home-built coverage here with Kit Planes Build to Fly. Coming up next, you're going to have Russ Niles, and as part of our AvWeb Osh Flash, continuing our coverage here from the Redbird Pavilion. Want to thank Tempest and Avemco for helping us out here. Thanks for watching.
Tempest Aero Group is a leading general aviation marketing and distribution company that has partnered with some of the best brands in the industry, including Tempest, Alcor, Marvel Schebler, Precision Air Motive, Consolidated Fuel Systems, and Stratus Tool Technologies. These brands represent high-quality aviation components and tools for OEM and aftermarket applications.
Quality, innovation, performance. Tempest.
Hi everyone and welcome to Osh Flash, our first attempt at live coverage from Airventure. Airventure got underway today. It's feeling pretty good. The weather's great, and we're looking forward to a really good show. As far as product announcements and that sort of thing are concerned, not that much on the horizon, but there are some issues that are being discussed, and it's probably time to get them out on the table and give them a really good going over. I just came from the fuel forum, where we're discussing the replacement of 100 low lead with an unleaded high octane replacement. And it started to get a little bit contentious towards the end of the show there. There's an issue over the viability of one of the fuels in the contest, and there's problems with creating consensus among everybody on what is required of 100 low lead or 100 unleaded fuel. So it's bound to spill over into the public because there is one fuel that is approved for general aviation. That is GAMI G100UL, and spokesman for GAMI got up to defend the viability of their fuel today, and they were kind of beaten down by General Aviation Manufacturers Association President Pete Bunce, who said that he disagreed that their fuel was currently at the stage where it could replace 100 low leads. So we're in kind of a quandary. We're getting into the weeds with this, and it's going to start getting probably ever more contentious as we go along and try and get towards a replacement for 100 low lead, which is going to be mandated by the Environmental Protection Administration, because lead in any quantity has been determined to be dangerous to human health, especially kids. And there's lots going on with that, and there'll be more at this meeting or at Airventure to be discussed about it. There's lots of forums on it. We'll be covering them, and with any luck, we'll start moving towards a conclusion and a settlement of what has become a contentious political and business issue as we sort of grapple to get rid of unleaded fuel, or get rid of leaded fuel in airplanes. So But it's not all about fuel here. I just took a picture of a little kid with great big earmuffs on, 2.5 months old, enjoying his first Airventure. So Airventure is more than anything a celebration of aviation and a way for us all to get together to have those difficult discussions like the fuel one, but also to just plain have fun. There's so many ways to have fun with airplanes at Airventure, and we're looking forward to exploring a few of them in this segment all week, and to get a sense of where people are feeling about the state of the industry and how it's going generally. In terms of attendance, you can hear lots of noise behind me. There's plenty of people here at the Redbird booth, and they're all checking out the simulators and having a good time with that. But the crowds are good, the weather's good, and we're looking forward to a very, very good show. So in terms of new products and that sort of thing, there's not that much on the horizon for new stuff. But there are a few announcements. Continental's got a big one tomorrow. Cirrus gave an update today. Dynan's got some new things. My colleague Larry was talking with Garmin about the integration of all their stuff. So we are moving on. We're keeping moving on with aviation and new products, and people keep coming up with new stuff. So we will be covering it as it goes on. So one of the big deals about coming to Oshkosh is flying here, and everybody talks about the arrival process, and they're always talking about the VFR arrival where you wag your wings. And our colleague Amelia Walsh and her husband Cy Pinkert flew in their Cessna 310 this week, and they had a very different experience. Cy, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about how you came in, why you came in that way, and why it was so easy.
So my name's Cy. We flew in our twin Cessna. It's a 310, and I'm an IFR pilot. I'm really kind of scared of VFR. There's lots of airplanes. The Fisk arrival just looked a little terrifying to me. It's our first time coming here, so we grabbed an IFR slot. They opened 72 hours prior, and they go really, really fast. So you got to be on the computer on the Special Traffic Management Program website and click a slot right when they open. It's every 15 minutes. I think they allow 3 at a time, for 3 aircraft per 15 minutes. So we did that. We grabbed a 9:45 a.m. slot for yesterday. We came over from Grand Rapids. We got our clearance in Grand Rapids. They double checked that we did have the proper confirmation code, and it was the most boring arrival to Oshkosh I think anybody's ever had. We didn't see any airplanes. We talked to everybody, and we didn't hear any other airplanes. And we didn't get a spot to land on. They didn't ask us to taxi in the grass. It was like landing at your normal airport.
But there was a reason for that. That was not the normal experience for
Yes.
for an IFR arrival.
Yeah.
Right?
So we arrived right before the mass arrival was scheduled for the Cirrus aircraft group. So I believe they were starting to hold airplanes at Rush Lake and Green Lake right around the time we were coming in, and so we were one of the last ones into Oshkosh before the mass arrival for Cirrus aircraft.
But again, that's one of the advantages of coming in IFR. You are guided all the way. You know exactly what's going on. You've got other eyes looking out for you, right?
It is, and they gave us the entire GPS approach to runway 9. So we crossed over everybody at 1,800 feet coming in. We came in at 4,000. And the whole GPS approach has your downwind base and final leg, and so we're altitude protected, and it was super simple.
Well, that's great. So Cy and his wife Amelia, who is one of our staff, have prepared this nice little video of their approach and their arrival, and it's really quite reassuring to see how calm and relaxed an arrival to Oshkosh can be.
Maybe next year we'll come in VFR. I don't know.
November 717 Tango Victor Grand Rapids clearance. You're cleared to Oshkosh Airport via file maintain 4,000. Expect 8,000. 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 128.4. Squad 4326.
Hey guys, it's Cy and Amelia with AvLib. We are en route to the busiest airport in the world, at least for the next couple days. We're going to Oshkosh. We just left Grand Rapids Airport, and we are en route right now over Lake Michigan.
Oh, look at the line.
Wow.
That is everybody right now on the way to Oshkosh.
Pretty busy.
We are definitely cheating.
Cessna 7 Tango Victor, when able to proceed direct Woo mile.
Approach 717 Tango Victor is vacating 8,000 to 4,000.
November 7 Tango Victor, roger.
Believe it or not, that's a required call that nobody makes.
Is it?
It's actually still on the far aim. All right, everyone, we are on our final descent now into Oshkosh. We are doing 193 knots right now. It's part of the reason we wanted to go IFR into Oshkosh. This 310 really likes to go fast and far and does not do well going slow.
That's 7 Tango Victor, reduce speed to 150. Just going to maintain 4,000.
Maintain 4,000 and we'll slow speed to 150, 717 Tango Victor.
7 Tango Victor, crosswalk mode 4,000, and cleared on air runway 9 approach at Oshkosh.
Okay, crosswalk mode 4,000 and we're cleared to the RNF 9 into Oshkosh, 717 Tango Victor.
And 7 Tango Victor, contact Oshkosh Tower 118.5, make sure the landing light's on, we'll see him.
18.5 will do, 7 Tango Victor. Oshkosh Tower, 717 Tango Victor, Twin Cessna, RNAV 9.
7 Tango Victor, Oshkosh Tower 118.5, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, thanks. Oshkosh Tower, Twin Cessna, 717 Tango Victor is Twin Cessna, RNAV 9. Cessna 717 Tango Victor, Oshkosh Tower, report 3 mile final. Report 3 out, 7 Tango Victor. Tower, Cessna 7 Tango Victor, approximately 3 mile final. Cessna Tango, Cessna 7 Tango Victor, runway 9 are clear to land.
Runway 9, clear to land, 7 Tango Victor.
Cessna 7 Tango Victor, turn left the next hard surface and follow the flagman to Oshkosh.
Okay, we'll make the next hard surface, Bravo 3, flagman, thanks, 7 Tango Victor.
Welcome back, everyone. We're with one of my favorite aviation people in the world. There's nobody who has more reason to be at Airventure than Paul Dye. From flogging his books on his experience as a NASA flight director to getting into the weeds with the very grassroots of aviation, Paul Dye has covered the entire spectrum of aviation, and he's an active and enthusiastic participant all the way right now. We enjoy talking privately about a wide range of aviation topics, and I'm glad to have him here to give a perspective on the show and to talk about what he's doing here. And it's a long, long list. So buckle up.
Yeah.
My friend Paul Dye.
Thanks, Russ. Good to see you. It's always
good to
fun
see
to
you.
be here. Yeah. This is the only time we catch up.
It is, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if I had to ask you for a main reason that you're here, what's the main reason that you're here?
This is the Mecca. This is aviation. This is everything we do. I mean, I've been privileged and blessed to be able to operate in aviation from J3 Cubs to the space shuttle. And these days I'm in that niche of home building where we've got too many airplanes already but in my fleet, but we're building another one. So this year I'm here to shop. I'm looking for parts and bits and pieces. But the real truth, the real reason I come all the time is to pass on the knowledge that's been given to me over the years to the next generation of people. And so I do a lot of forums, I do a lot of talks. We're going to be doing a lot of work out at the Pilot Proficiency Center this middle of the week, teaching angle of attack flying for people because it's going to make them safer and lower their risk. So that's really the kind of thing we're doing. I mean, you can kind of say we're just giving back.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about the AOA stuff.
Sure.
You became a grudging experimenter with it and turned into an evangelist for it.
There is absolutely no question that as an aeronautical engineer, I know that angle of attack is the way you fly. And as a matter of fact, Wolfgang Langweis said that in his book back in 1944. But we haven't had the kind of instrumentation that pilots could use in the cockpit to really understand what their AOA was until the past 10, 15 years, where it's native in every EFIS that we put in experimental airplanes. So it's a really, really useful tool, and now people have it. So that's one of the reasons. I'll tell you, the first time you get really distracted and you're really busy on a test flight and that AOA starts chirping and you realize you've overcooked it a little bit and pulled a little hard, it saves your bacon. It's a really amazing tool.
Well, how does it work? Where does it function within the modern GA cockpit?
So one of the things that we've always talked about is we don't want people stalling in that base to final turn. It turns out that that's only about 5% of the fatal stall spin accidents occur there. 35% of the fatal stall spin accidents occur on takeoff, departure, and initial climb. A large percentage of that is attempts at turnbacks. And if you have AOA, remember the airspeed indicator is the gauge that lies, because it doesn't really tell you what the lift state of your wing is, because it depends not only on airspeed but on loading and what that bank angle is. The AOA will always tell you where you are relative to the stall. And so it allows you to extract the maximum performance out of your wing at all times. So if the chips are down and you're trying to make a tight turn, or you're heavy, or you're circling that eagle's nest in a tree, you'll get that warning that you're getting too close to the edge of angle of attack.
Okay. Well, you said you were shopping.
Yep.
And you've got an exciting new project on the go. Tell us about your F1 rocket and what it's going to do for your flying enjoyment.
Yeah, so we were looking at our next project last fall, trying to figure out what we were going to build, when a confluence of events, let's put it that way, dropped on an unbelievably good deal on an IO 540 in our lap, followed by an unbelievably good deal on a quick build F1 rocket kit, which is a unicorn. I mean, this was untouched since it was made in the early 2000s. So we've got that in our shop. The F1 rocket is similar in size and shape to an RV-8, but instead of having 180 horsepower, it's got 260 horsepower. So it's going to be a great cross-country machine. We're going to be able to cruise it high, cruise it far, and it's just going to be a really nice addition to our fleet. We'll probably have to say goodbye to the RV-8 at some point, just because who needs two-seat tandem high-performance airplanes? But we're really looking forward to that. And so here at the show, I'm looking for accessories. You know, I'm going to need an oxygen system and a few other bits and pieces. I visited B&B Air Parts this morning, where we stocked up on nuts and bolts and things like that for the shop. So looking forward to this as a next step kind of airplane with a lot of horsepower.
Okay, so why don't we give a plug to all of the other activities that you're looking at? Go on, just list off all the forums you're participating in and what they're going on.
Sure. So this afternoon I'm doing a forum on flight testing 101, how to do flight testing in a highly risk managed fashion. I'll be giving a talk about Shuttle Houston, my book, on Wednesday, I believe. I'm doing a couple of book signings. I did one this morning, so if you're interested in Shuttle Houston, the book about what it was like to be a flight director for the shuttle program for 30 years, that'll be in the warehouse on Wednesday. I'll have to look up the time, but you can look up my name and do that. And then Wednesday afternoon, we're doing AOA all afternoon in the Pilot Proficiency Center. And I think there are a couple other things on my schedule that I'm forgetting, but I just can't remember. But if you're interested in seeing us or chatting, come by. I love, after a talk, to chat with people. It's the only time you absolutely know where I'm going to be. Otherwise, I'm just wandering around.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Paul. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And like I said, Airventure is mostly about fun. We managed to inject a lot of work into it, but it's mostly about fun. And we've come up with a fun feature on video with our associates at Fire Crown Media. We've just gone out and looked for cool airplanes. And yesterday we found a really neat Stinson.
Stumbled onto this airplane. It was hanging in the rafters of a shop in Lincoln, California, of all things. Long story short, I talked him into selling it to me by promising that I would get the airplane flying. I wouldn't part it out.
The last airworthiness certificate they had on it was from 1957, so it was down. It was down for a long time.
The 7 is an interesting airplane in that it was actually an experiment. They only built 42 of the 7s. They were doing really well with 6s, but the competition was catching up and they were looking for an edge. And they had used the gull wing on their Model A tri-motor airliner. So somebody said, hey, let's try the gull wing on the 6, on the Reliant. So they went out and they got a 6 off the assembly line, modified it to put the gull wing on it, and said, yay, let's fly it. Almost immediately they started getting orders. So they realized they had a hit. And they went out and they put 12 7s on the assembly line.
When it was sold out of the factory, it went to Air Services Corporation, and they used it for a couple of years. They then got an 8, so they sold the 7 to Pepsi-Cola. It was put out from the factory with the Stinson blue and white on it already, so really all Pepsi had to do was add their bling to it, if you will, all the marketing logos and that kind of thing. They added a tow hook, so they did banner towing with it. It was their VIP transport. They went all over the country, both coasts, and after 2 years, sold it off.
I don't know if I'd call it a responsibility, but we feel maybe it is a responsibility to share a piece of history like this as much as we can. It is not, to me, it's not something that needs to be parked in a hangar and coveted. It needs to be out where people can appreciate the history behind something like this. And that's what we want to do with it. We want to hit as many air shows and fly-ins as we can. Yeah.
live from the Redbird exhibit over by the EAA warehouse. It's a really fascinating place to come and look around. And it also, sorry, I'm just fiddling with my earpiece here, it fell out. But it's also a fascinating place to participate in aviation. You can get on with the simulators. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about Tempest and our other sponsors for Oshkosh Live, because without them, without the sponsorship of advertisers and supporters like them, it's, well, it would be impossible for us to do all this and try to deliver this kind of quality product to you. So we hope that you'll seek out and maybe even spend a little bit of money with some of the sponsors of not only our programming, but all the other great events that happen at Airventure. So we are firmly into the middle of the first day. The crowds are building, and it's a great feeling to be here and to continue the long tradition of Airventure. We're very happy to be part of it. And excuse me while I fiddle for my earpiece. There we go. And okay, we're happy to see you. And please do drop by the flying booth and drop by the Redbird exhibit to see us here at Oshkosh Live. And this has been Russ Niles reporting for Osh Flash. Thanks for watching.
Tempest plays a vital role in the industry, and in today's world, we are the leading spark plug and oil filter manufacturer for general aviation. We've been able to not only release new products, but we've taken legacy products and created innovations. We take great pride, not only from a design standpoint, but from a manufacturing standpoint, all the way down to making sure the customer is satisfied with the product. Quality, innovation, performance. Tempest.
It's happening. Okay, it's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Get. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
All right, guys. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our final segment of the first day of Oshkosh Live 2024. I'm Kaylee Nix here for Flying Media Group, and it's been a great day so far. We've been inside the Redbird booth all day long. This is what it looks like from the outside. We only got the look of the stage. So this is outside of the booth, and as you can see, it's pretty fabulous, right? We've got the simulators that are right over there. You've got the learning area, the computers, and you've got some Redbird swag behind me as well. So if you guys haven't been over here to the Redbird booth yet, highly suggest that you come out and say hey to all of us. We are directly across the street from the EAA warehouse and the EAA merch store, directly across the street from the FAA building, and just to the side of the control tower here at Oshkosh. And it's about 12 o'clock. Everybody's hungry. We got people out and about. We're headed into that dreaded time that Amy Wilder said earlier. Hey, don't do anything during Oshkosh in the middle of the afternoon. we're about to do it. We're about to go get social with some of our folks that are out here around the grounds. Before we do that, though, we got to give one more giant shout out to all of our sponsors for their help with today's broadcast and for all of our week as well. Of course, Redbird, our main presenting sponsor, we are here in their booth all week long. Come say hey to us. Come say hey to us. We've got Watt as a sponsor as well. Thank you to Avemco, to Tempest, and to MTSU. Thank you to everybody who made this happen. And shout out to one of our partners, Insta360. These guys gave us a handful of camera gear to use throughout the week. So we're going to be running around. We're going to be shooting some segments on our Insta360 cameras, taking a pretty wide look at what Oshkosh is like. So we're going to get that started. And then let's take a little stroll and go get social, guys. Come on, let's go. So we'll do a little bit of narration here as we start our stroll around, because Oshkosh is gigantic, right? And you never know what you're going to find here at EAA. The goal is, though, to talk to as many people as possible and to really kind of learn a little bit about everybody's experience. The best way to do it is on a golf cart. I don't have that luxury, so instead we're gonna do it on foot. And as we do that, we're gonna mosey on over to the MTSU tent and hear a little bit from their students as well. So let's take a stroll. We're gonna run in between here, the FAA Safety Center, cross the street really quickly to make sure we don't get run over by one of those golf carts, and run in between the EAA warehouse and the FAA Safety Center. So for folks who are new to Oshkosh like me, this is my first time. So far I've learned the keys to survive the day: very comfortable shoes, wear a nice lightweight outfit, and drink a whole lot of water, because if not, you're absolutely going to overheat. So as we're walking in between here, we got some people around us. Now let's see if we can grab somebody and see what they're up to at Oshkosh. We're going to grab this guy in the gray shirt. Sir, what's your name?
Ethan.
Ethan, okay. Is this your first Oshkosh?
It is not.
How many Oshkoshes?
4.
All right, what are you looking forward to most out of the week?
Air shows.
Air shows? Yeah. What act?
Nothing specific. I just like seeing everything fly over.
All right, Ethan, and who are you here with? You got an exhibitor badge on.
Yep, I'm here with Cirrus Owners and Pilots Association.
Great. Where can people go to find you guys?
Hangar C, booth 3166.
Awesome, Ethan. Thank you. Enjoy your Oshkosh. Boom, we love that. Ethan from COPA, you heard him. Cirrus Owners Pilot Association. Again, Amy Wilder was talking a little bit earlier about some of the associations that are here, some of the benefits that come with being one of those association members. We actually have one of our previous hosts, Columbia, if you guys didn't know. They're located just right over here. So go check them out. Let's see who else we can grab over here. Let me see. We're shooting for this guy. Sir, what is your name?
Jesse.
Jesse, hi. Welcome. You're on Flying Let's Get Social right now. Tell me a little bit about Oshkosh. How excited are you for it this week?
Super excited.
All right. Who are you here with?
Edwards Air Force Base, the B-52.
Perfect. Are you guys flying that around this week?
Nope, just static.
There we go. All right, Jesse, what are you most looking forward to about Oshkosh?
Watching all the cool jets fly.
There we go. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Perfect. Some of my favorite folks are the folks that are here as part of the military jets. I love seeing the big jets like that fly around. I think that they're just so cool, right? Because it's something that is super, super unique. And you know that those guys, of course, have incredible flight training and have incredible years of experience, but they just go really fast planes earlier. But that's Oshkosh, right? That's what you got. Let's see. So we're headed over here down and into the booths right here. We've got the Flying Eyes booth right here. And the funny thing about this, you never know who you're going to meet at Oshkosh. One of my good friends, her name is Christy Schaefer. She's a pilot for American Eagle. She's right there in the blue shirt in the middle with the leggings on. So that's Christy. Again, the people that you meet at Oshkosh. And the funny thing about this, so I came from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and managed to fly through Dallas-Fort Worth, didn't have a flight delay or anything. Christy, who is that American Eagle pilot, was actually on my flight. Her and my mom have been friends for about 10 years, and she's known me since I was in high school. So the people you meet at Oshkosh, we won't disturb her because she's in the middle of a live segment as well. But hey, she's great. They're over here at the Flying Eyes booth, and if you guys want to come see them, they've got taking off going on, and they're over here too. So come check them out. We're gonna keep on moving. Let's see who else we can grab. Let's see. People are taking heat and staying inside, it seems like. All right, this is our booth right here, and we've got the man of the hour coming up. Here are all of our brands. The family man himself. We got Mr. Craig Fuller. Welcome to Get Social with Flying Magazine. How's it going?
It is fantastic. We just got here. We brought the whole family this year. This is their first trip here to Oshkosh. Really excited, lots of enthusiasm.
So you guys just landed, and you landed at Oshkosh. What did you fly in?
So we flew in a PC-24, which is a light aircraft, a jet, one pilot, real fast, about 440 knots.
This is great. I was hoping that I would get to see you guys, and I'm so excited that we made this work. So you guys are here for the whole week?
I'm here to Wednesday, and then we're leaving after the air show, which is at night. It's got the fireworks and the whole ambiance of it. It's going to be incredible.
The whole shebang, no pun intended with the fireworks there.
This is my wife, Brooke.
Hi, Brooke.
So, and all of our little people here.
There we go.
Trip to Oshkosh.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so I got to ask about the flying awards tonight. Anybody that you think is going to take home the winner?
You know, I can't reveal that just yet, but I am really excited. This has been it's really interesting because this year we're a couple years outside of...
The military jets are back.
We're a couple years outside of COVID. There was a lot less R&D during COVID. We're now in this really interesting time where innovation is really ramped up. There's a lot of things happening. It's a really exciting time, and obviously this is the Super Bowl of where it all takes place.
Yeah, it's the place to be, and if you're not here, we wish that you were, but hey, you're watching us on Oshkosh Live. So coming up tonight, we've got the Flying Party, the Editor's Choice Award, the Innovation Award, which is the big one, and the Reader's Choice Award. Which is your favorite of the three?
You know, I like when our audience gets to participate in those awards. So getting the audience feedback, I think, is really important.
All right, Craig, thank you guys for being here. Welcome to Brooke and to all the littles for their very first Oshkosh. I hope that they're excited as I am because this is my first Oshkosh as well.
First time. What do you think?
First time.
What's your first impression?
I'm overwhelmed in the absolute best way.
Is this what you expected, or is it complete? It's hard to describe it.
It is so hard to conceptualize it, but yesterday I got lost. As I was walking back to the parking lot. I got lost, and I ended up what should have been like a 5-minute walk. I got on a tram and ended up on the other side of the campgrounds and took like a 25-minute walk way out of my way. But everybody was so nice.
Yeah.
And seeing all of the airplanes and all of the tents parked next to each other, it's absolutely insane.
Well, we all have something in common. It's the love of aviation. And so everyone here, this is like the time where this is a whole community. And it's magical to get here and celebrate aviation because this is, in many ways, defies it is all about physics, but it defies the way we're supposed to live, right? We're not supposed to have wings.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of people are not supposed to be in the air, but here they are.
But
all right.
It's changed society in so much ways. And this is just a place where all of the action takes place. The innovation, the camaraderie, the celebration, there's nothing like it.
The last question before I let you go. Me and Amy Wilder from Plane and Pilot talked a little bit about the culture. She hit on the campground yodeler, which is this rumor around here. I got to know, are you the campground yodeler?
I am not the campground yodeler, so I am not brave enough to spend a week in a field. But I have a lot of respect for those that do.
All right, guys. Thank you, Craig. We will see you later on in the Flying Party tonight. And you heard it here first. Craig Fuller, not the campground yodeler. So that knocks out another person from Flying Media Group who's not. All right, let's go. We're going to keep on walking through. And we're going to go ahead and just take a little stroll over to the Middle Tennessee State University booth. And we had them on our show a little bit earlier today, but let's keep on strolling and see what they're up to. So Middle Tennessee State University, one of the premier destinations when it comes to aviation programs. And if you think about it, if you think about college air programs, you probably think about Embry-Riddle and you probably think about some of those big names. But Middle Tennessee State University, tiny school in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, they're making some pretty big waves. So with that, we're going to pop on in here. Hi, guys. Hey, how's it going? Awesome. So we've got Andrew Ottman back. Andrew, you were up on the stage a little bit earlier.
Yes, I was.
Talk to me a little bit about what you were doing and where you guys are right now in the booth.
Well, first of all, thanks for being partners with you guys. And I just really appreciate everything that we're doing with Flying Magazine. But I'm the person that really needs to tell you what's going on in the booth here is my buddy Bree here. Yeah. She understands everything that's going on, and she's been doing a fantastic job running this whole thing. She'll introduce you to a few of our students, show you our aircraft, and have a bunch of fun. So You ready for your broadcast debut?
I'm so excited.
It's live. Yeah. Here you go. Let's give it to Bree.
There we go. All right, Bree, what's your first and your last name?
Bree McDonald.
All right, Bree, and then what do you do over at MTSU?
Yeah, so I'm our outreach coordinator for the program, but I'm also an alumni. So I graduated back in May of 23 from the professional pilot program. So I'm also starting as a flight instructor here next year.
Amazing. So before we get into a little bit with your students here and you take us around and get us to meet some very, very friendly faces, tell me a little bit about your experience in the MTSU Aviation program and why you decided to come back and continue your education.
No, for sure. I think the biggest thing was just the community and the professors that I met along the way was like the biggest thing that, one, brought me here and kept me here. My story's kind of funny though, how I started. I was a totally different major than aerospace, and found it because of the people talking about it, right? It's a nice big old community, and so just from how nice people were and what they taught me about the program made it realize a girl from like a small town in Jackson, Tennessee, very small, no aviation influence there, was like, you can do it. So getting to meet all the professors and the instruction that you get through the program, the airplanes over there, which we'll see soon too, are one of the best aircraft out there right now, so it fully made the experience enjoyable. And it kept me around because of the people and the equipment that we have in the facilities we have to, you know, pursue a job and do flight instructing to bring me to the next path of my career, which is hopefully the airlines. But my major goal is actually to be an aircraft accident investigator.
That's amazing. With the NTSB?
Yes, with the NTSB. Hopefully, we call myself the NTS Bree, which is a funny little slang thing we have.
If you don't have a social media handle yet that says NTS Bree, I think you absolutely need to make one.
Funny enough, I have a pilot page called Bree the Pilot, but I sure need to change it to NTS Bree.
I love that. All right, so you guys have a couple of different tracks here in the aerospace program, right? You've got professional pilot, aerospace technology, unmanned aircraft, aeronautical sciences, all of the above. Can you give me a little bit of background on maybe some of the ones that have really seen the most growth and the most kind of influx of students?
Yeah, for sure. So our biggest program that we have is the professional pilot program. We have about 900 students in the program, but our second largest is our maintenance management program. So we're seeing a lot of growth within our maintenance industry because if you don't know, the biggest shortage out there right now truly is our maintenance part of aviation. Besides that, UAS, we have an unmanned aircraft systems. We actually have a new concentration we just added, so now we have 7. One is unmanned aircraft systems operations, which we've had, but now we have unmanned aircraft systems technology. So applying the technology behind all of the drone operations instead of just learning how to fly, they're learning the intricate circuit electrical background that they need.
That's incredible because as we know, drone technology is something that I think a lot of people still feel is very far-fetched, but the reality is that it's very much here and it's very much at its root of becoming deployed really kind of expeditiously around the country. Right?
Exactly, yeah. I tell people on tours all the time, a lot of my job is with prospective students, and when I'm explaining to them why it's important and why they should look into going to the unmanned aircraft areas, because that's where technology is going. You know, air mobility is huge right now and a big industry growing, so everything maybe one day will become unmanned, so why not pursue that career? And so we also have a minor in it too, so anyone who maybe wants to have a manned aircraft license can pursue a minor here at MTSU in UAS and be able to pursue both.
There you go. Drone pilot, CFI, and real pilot too. All of the best 3. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hand the mic over to you, and go ahead and just walk us around the booth a little bit and tell us what you guys have here.
For sure. All right, follow me this way. So we have a ton of different information here and cool swag items for people to come grab and share with y'all. So we have all our concentration cards if you want to learn more about any concentration we have here in the aerospace department, and including our master's program. We also have 3 different concentrations for a master's degree. You can check out the cards. We have cool changing cups over here. We also are hosting an alumni barbecue, so if you're an alumni out there watching and you haven't got your ticket yet, feel free to come over, scan QR code. You can join us on Wednesday night for alumni barbecue before the night air show. If we go over here, we also have a cool engine model that one of our professors for our maintenance management concentration has created this design for, and students in the program will actually be able to retrofit their own 3D printed engine model, turbine engine model here. So that's a really cool thing, and it even spins all the correct components properly together. All right, and if we move over here, we can kind of keep walking this way. Hey, Alyssa. So we have over here one of our flight instructors for the program who's also an aerospace ambassador. This is Alyssa. Alyssa, do you want to say hi?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Smith. I'm a graduate from MTSU. I graduated this past May after 3 years of being at the university. I've been working as a flight instructor for the past year or so, and I've enjoyed my time at MTSU, and I'm really glad that I came here.
Thanks, Alyssa. We have some more swag items over here. If you come back throughout the week, we might have some different items too you can check out. But we have really cool Oshkosh stickers that the lovely Andrew Ottman put together for us. But it has our diamond and our Seminole to represent both aircraft that we fly here in our professional pilot program. We also have one of our drones. So this drone is actually really cool. For our UAS students, they start out making popsicle sticks, pizza box drones. We actually have made a video before flying around a Pizza Hut pizza box. But if I open it up here, you can see just the basic circuits that go on in the smallest drone that the students will make in the program. And it just gets bigger from here, guys. They'll go into 3D printed models and all the way to fixed wing different drones. And yeah, it's a good program to get started with and start on just popsicles and build to something huge. And then we have some department cards and everything else, temporary tattoos if you're feeling crazy. Now, if we keep moving over here, and lovely metallic bags. Now, if we keep moving over here, we have a lovely slideshow. So if you're an alumni watching, you might see yourself on the board if you come over and stare at our TV long enough for us. But I think the really cool thing that everyone wants to see, and we won't wait any longer, is our aircraft. So follow me this way. All right. For the MTSU Professional Pilot Program. This aircraft is a Diamond DA-40 if you don't recognize it. So we love our aircraft here because we have a fleet of about 45 different aircraft, 38 of the Diamond DA-40s. We have 5 Piper Seminoles. We didn't bring a Seminole this week though. And then we have 1 Piper Cub and also a Diamond DA-20. So a little bit smaller than this 2-seater Diamond. If you come closer over here, we have one of our flight instructors talking to some visitors to our aircraft. The cool thing about our aircraft too is that we have all glass cockpit for every single aircraft we fly in the program. So we have the G1000 in this particular aircraft. The only other type of glass system that we have is the G3X and a few others of our Piper Seminoles. Hey Cyan, yeah. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Here you go.
Hi, good morning everyone. Or good afternoon.
You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Cyan Greer. I'm a flight instructor at Middle Tennessee State University.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Cyan. And that's our booth for y'all guys. Feel free to come by, 442, and we're here all week.
All right, Bree, thank you so much for that amazing introduction to MTSU. For students who are maybe here and they're thinking about getting into a career in aviation, or they want to know their next steps, maybe they're a high school kid and they're like, I don't know where to go, but I know I want to fly airplanes. What's your advice?
Yeah, so my initial middle school or high school starting out, I would highly recommend researching different aviation groups or organizations around the area. Since we're at Oshkosh, it's EAA. EAA has amazing scholarships and junior programs for those students that are looking to pursue a career to get started super early. Local chapter though, or any organization around your area, try to go find a Part 61 school and get a discovery flight or just learn more about it. Look it up online. Google is our best friend at this point, so just keep researching. And yeah, reach out to us. I would love to talk to you. And we are trying to host summer camps and different organizations around Tennessee, so we try to get involved as much as possible.
All right, Bree, thank you guys so much, and thank you MTSU for being such a huge part of our broadcast here. Keep an eye out for her, NTS Bree, eventually on Instagram. We're gonna get her over there. We'll see you guys more throughout the rest of the week, and we'll be back by the booth in a little bit.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, let's bring it on home. We're gonna take a walk back around over to the flying booth. We're gonna get a little bit of insight on the ultimate issue. So, brand new product at the beginning of this year, and I'm not gonna lie, it started off as a little bit of an ambitious idea, and I was really excited to hear about it. One of the biggest things that we have done recently is brought some luxury back to our print products. We really wanted to make Flying Magazine something that you would be very proud to have on your shelf. You would be very proud to have displayed at your FBO, or have it just living on your coffee table, right? So we spent a ton of time over the last 2 years redeveloping the brand of the magazine, redeveloping even just down to the paper and the print type that we were using. And because of that, collector of some of our issues. So earlier this year, we decided, why not do that for some of our other brands? So we brought you the Ultimate Issue, which was a collection of some of our very, very exciting brands. And we put stories, planes, aircraft for sale. All of that great stuff was wrapped up into one amazing issue. And I just got to pull it out for y'all because look at this thing. It's gorgeous, right? So the Ultimate Issue was something that we were super, super excited to bring to you out of Flying Out of 2024. Again, stories from all parts of the industry. Incredibly, incredibly beautiful high color photography, and just something that anybody would be proud to host, again, in their FBO or on their coffee table, even like that. So because of that, we do have a special offer for folks who just try to just subscribe to our 2025 Ultimate Issue. We've got the Ultimate Flying giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe to be entered to win. We're offering a special discount as well as getting a free Oshkosh t-shirt if you give us a little bit of subscription and join our mailing list, all of the above. We would love to have you guys as part of the Flying Media Group family. So pop on by the booth. We're right next to, again, the big flying trailer. You can't miss us. That's it for our Getting Social with Flying segment. Super excited to wrap up the first day of Oshkosh Live 2024. We've got 4 more days of incredible content headed your way. Tomorrow, make sure that you join us at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. If you're not watching us on the live stream on one of our websites, you can go on over to some of our social media pages and find us there. Hopefully I get to see some pretty cool airplanes today during the air show. Maybe I'll even take a ride in one. I don't know. Until then, I'm Kaylee Nix, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8:30.